Hey folks, today we're going to take a look at a game that is currently seeking funding on Kickstarter. That game is called Best Candy on the Block Rewrapped, and it's from designer John Barron. Now, if you like what you see throughout the rest of this preview video, I'm going to encourage you to go to the official Kickstarter project page to find out more information than I could possibly tell you here. To do that, all you got to do is follow the link in the top corner of your screen, as well as down in the description section underneath this video. Go there, find out more information, and hopefully consider backing the project. Now, if you've been following my channel for a while, you may remember that I did a preview for the original Best Candy on the Block a few years ago. It was a success. The game was published to a lot of good reviews. But the designer of the game, John Barron, decided that there were some things that he wanted to change to streamline the rules, to make the game more accessible to people, change like the graphic design on the cards, things like that. He just thought he could do better. So here we have Best Candy on the Block Rewrapped, which not only, like I said, streamlines those rules, but also adds some new cards into the mix. There's a new little expansion pack for us, and a new optional deck you can use, all these different types of things. But at the core of it, it is still the same premise of the game, so if you've played the game before, then you do know what to expect. You and the other players are trying to have the best haul of candy on your trick-or-treating run, but of course you're trying to avoid things like getting a tummy ache, which is to say taking too many tricks, or avoiding some nasty prank cards and things like that. And of course it's a little more complicated than that, so what we're going to do is take a brief look at a prototype copy of the game. So just do bear in mind that what you see here, while a lot of it may be in the final version of the game, things always change over the course of a Kickstarter campaign, which is why it's important to go to the page to find out more information. But in any event, after this, we will come back and discuss it further. Best Candy on the Block Rewrapped is a revised edition of the original game, including streamlined rules and changes to the card designs to make them more accessible. However, the premise and goal of the game remain the same. 2 to 4 players, or up to 5 with the expansion pack, are trying to have the best night of trick-or-treating possible and therefore end up with the best candy in their bag. Now, in game terms, each player will be playing down candy cards with different suits, trying to take tricks and score points. If you get to the agreed upon number of points first, you win the game. But that's easier said than done, as trick cards, prank cards, and the occasional tummy ache may foil your plans. Start the game by shuffling the treat deck and dealing out 13 cards to each player. Then, starting with the player to the dealer's left, each player will play 1 card down to the table, one on top of the other. Each card must follow suit if possible, and whichever player ends up playing the highest face value card will win the trick and add the cards to their stash. Then, under normal circumstances, the winner of the trick will lead the next trick, playing down a card, and so it goes until all 13 cards in each player's hand have been used. At that point, every player scores 1 point for every trick they manage to take. Then, a new round begins, shuffling and re-dealing the cards and beginning again. But let's break this down in more detail by actually looking at the cards. Most of the deck consists of treat cards, or candy cards, with a candy image, a face value, and 2 suit icons. When you play a card during a trick, you must follow with a card that matches suit with at least one other card already played in the trick. But it's okay if only one of the 2 suit icons matches cards in the trick. And ultimately, the card that wins the trick will be the card with the highest value, regardless of suit. There are a few exceptions to these basic rules, of course. The King card is special, and while it doesn't have a suit, you may always choose to play it if you have it and it beats all other cards. Non-candy cards have 0 value and will almost never win tricks unless there's a rare tie situation, but they are always playable even if you have the applicable suit in hand. Prank cards are also always playable and also very rarely win tricks, but these cards end up having a -1 point value for whoever ends up winning the trick that has it in it. Also, when played, after the current trick, the next hand will begin with the player to the right of the trick winner instead of the trick winner. There are 3 different advanced rules you may utilize. First, you may play with the possibility of tummy aches. This means that whoever wins the most tricks in a hand, that is, whoever was greediest and ate the most candy, will score 0 points for the hand. So you want to win some, but not all tricks each hand. You can also choose to play with the favorite flavor deck. At the beginning of each hand, after dealing out the treat cards, each player is dealt 3 cards from this deck. They will keep 1 secret to themselves and discard the other 2 to the bottom of the flavor deck. Each flavor card has a picture of one of the suit icons and a number indicating how many cards in the deck match that suit. At the end of the hand, you get 1 bonus point for every card in your stash that matches that flavor, that is, suit. You can get these bonus points even if you score 0 points from the tricks due to a tummy ache. Lastly, there is a special optional king size expansion consisting of 13 new cards with a new king suit, including a variant of the original king card that you may use instead of the original. Every one of these cards is playable on any trick, but they come in a variety of face values, and so, unlike the king, they may not necessarily win. But each also has a powerful special effect. Everything from drawing and replacing cards, forcing players to lose or trade cards, forcing trick cards to be hidden, and more. There are also 2 new powerful non-candy cards. You may choose to use all or some of these cards in the treat deck, which may enable you to play with up to 5 players. Or you can just remove prank or non-candy cards from the original deck and replace them with the new King expansion cards, just to change the game experience for you and the other players. But however you choose to play, the game ends when one player has had enough points to hit the agreed upon threshold, usually either 13, 22, or 31 points for a short, medium, or long game, respectively. If you can get to this point amount after a trick and you break any ties in your favor, you will win the game. And that is Best Candy on the Block, Rewrapped. Well, as I mentioned in the beginning in the preview section, Rewrapped, as the name implies, is a re-up of the original game. Streamlined rules, new graphic design, new options added to it, and new accessibility. But ultimately, the core gameplay is the same, and the theme of the game is the same as well. So if you liked the original, you're likely to enjoy Rewrapped as well and want to have access to the new stuff. But if you're new to the game, like a lot of people might, it might be interesting to note some of the interesting things about Best Candy on the Block. So, for instance, the core gameplay is the trick-taking mechanic, which, of course, has been a gameplay element around for a long time. But I think together with both the theme, of hauling in candy from trick-or-treating, which is consistent across everything in the game, from the expansions to the optional rules as well, that together with the fact that the accessibility, and that can mean a lot of different things, but in this, what I'm specifically referring to, the fact that, yes, suit is very important, but every card has 2 different suit icons, and ultimately what matters is the value of the cards that you're playing. And on top of the fact, base game has the one king card. Adding in the king expansion adds a whole set of king cards, which can, possibly win, regardless of whether, you still have to have the high face value, but can possibly win over the other suits. So it's not like the suit is not like this incredibly restrictive thing like it is in some more traditional card games. Also, having those extra cards in there, the prank cards and the non-candy cards, which, rare that you're going to be winning a trick with those, but you play those down to either buy yourself some time, or if you're like, okay, you know what, in the case of the prank cards, I'm not going to win this, go ahead and take a negative point, and also I'm going to manipulate the flow of the round so it goes back to the person to the winner's right. So it kind of takes the wind out of the sails of the person who's about to win the trick. Again, just another interesting element to note. Then you have the flavor deck, which is the sort of more traditional board game, Euro game type element thrown into the mix, but in a very simple and condensed way, where now you have to be you have another thing to consider. Another thing to strategize over. You're very carefully considering what tricks you're trying to take, because you want to focus on taking tricks that have those bonus point cards, and the cards that are bonus points for you. The suits that match the flavor card that you chose that no other player knows. Though, of course, over the course of the hand, they may be gleaning what you're aiming for. But who knows, they have to worry about their own card as well. So, again, just another thing to add into the mix. But it's also a very simple setup, so if you decide to play with it, steal out 3 cards, keep 1, that's it. It's not a thing that's going to completely add a ton of time to your game, but it's an optional thing that's there. The concept of the tummy aches as well makes it a little more I don't know if cutthroat is the word, but adds another like a layer of danger to the game, where it's like, okay, I want to be good at the game, and I want to win a lot of tricks, but not too many. And then people start to really sweat as you're playing the hand. So again, these are things that you want to add to the game if you are with a group of people who want the game to be a little bit crunchier and have a little more depth to it. But you can easily not do those things. You could also not use the expansion cards if you don't want to. You could also use the expansion cards to swap out cards from the base deck, like the prank cards that you may not like if you don't think that they work for your play group. Or use those cards to play with up to 5 players if you have a big group of people who are waiting for the next game to start, the next big board game that you might be playing. So you want to be able to accommodate everyone. So there's a lot of variability here. There's a lot of like customizability here, if that's a word. And a lot of different things you can do that sort of set Best Candy in a Block apart from so many other games that, you know, have that trick-taking element but are much... you know, just have that. That's basically the entire game. This is more than that. So, again, if you liked the original, and now you want the version with new options, new streamlining of the rules, and the gameplay elements and the design elements and all of that. If you've never played the game before, but it intrigues you or someone that you know, you think it's going to be right for your game group, then hey, listen, you don't have to take my word for any of this. You can go to the official Kickstarter project page, which I'm going to link in the top corner of your screen or down in the description section, and learn even more than I could have possibly told you here. And hopefully after learning more, you will at least consider backing the project. That is Best Candy on the Block Rewrapped edition from John Barron. Thank you so much for watching, and as always for supporting our sponsors. Take care.